So let us discuss today about what are going to be the various systemic actions of local anesthetics. As we all know that local anesthetics, they have a substitution of aromatic ring which imparts lipophilicity to the structure, as a result of which all local anesthetics will be capable of producing a sequence of stimulation followed by depression. For example, initially there will be a excitation and that will be then followed by a depressant effect. Now in this, among all local anesthetic, which is the one which has a highest CNS stimulant effect is a cocaine, and that produces initially a euphoria for which the patient become addicted. Later on there will be excitement. As the dose further increases, there will be mental confusion leading to restlessness, and ultimately at a very high dose you will find there are tremors or twitching of the muscles which may lead to convulsions. If not controlled at the right time, that may lead to the respiratory depression followed with unconsciousness, and when respiratory depression becomes severe, it will ultimately lead to the death. So all these toxic effects will take place in a dose dependent manner and usually observed with a local anesthetic like cocaine. Now procaine is another local anesthetic, and there are certain other synthetic local anesthetic which are comparatively less potent and produces comparatively therefore less toxicity. If they are given at a safe clinical dose, they will not produce much of the CNS effects. Yes, but if you are giving those drugs at a higher concentration or sometimes by accidental intravenous injection, high dose is injected into the circulation, that will produce CNS stimulation followed by depression. Lidocaine, on the contrary, initially will cause a drowsiness. See, all local anesthetic in the initial stage are producing excitement or a CNS stimulant effect, whereas lidocaine is the one which causes initial drowsiness, lethargy, and in a higher doses it will produce the excitation. Again, that will be followed with a depression as that of the other local anesthetic. Now, why do we get a initial excitatory effect? The basic action of the local anesthetic is that they cause inhibition of generation of action potential or a conduction of the action potential. So initially, since there is a neuronal inhibition, the apparent stimulation is due to inhibition of the inhibitory neurons, which we have seen even in the general anesthetic. So inhibition of the inhibitory neuron will lead to the loss of inhibitory control over the excitatory neurons, and that may lead to the rapid excitation. Whereas at a higher doses, as you progress with local anesthetic, all the types of the neurons get inhibited, and then if you record electroencephalograph EEG, you will find almost all waves get flattened, which indicates that it's not only the inhibitory neurons which are getting inhibited, but along with now excitatory neuron also get inhibited. So these are certain drugs like procaine, lidocaine, mepivacaine, which are actually used therapeutically to terminate or to decrease the duration of the epilepsy. Now since we have learned epilepsy in practicals, now you can understand that how the duration of both grand mal and petit mal seizures can be reduced by this drug, because these drugs are sodium channel blocker. They are inhibiting depolarization. So asynchronous or a synchronized excitation of the neurons can be inhibited by this drug, and therefore at a dose of say 0.5 to 4 microgram per ml, they can be used as a anticonvulsant drug. But sometimes the depressant action of a local anesthetic, it raises the seizure threshold by decreasing the excitability of the cortical neurons in epileptic patient. As I already told you that local anesthetics have sodium channel blocking property. They are inhibiting generation of action potential, and therefore the threshold value which is required to be reached to generate the impulse will be raised, will be set to a very high level, as a result of which neurons will take a longer time to reach to that threshold level, and therefore the rate of generation of the impulses will reduce down, and that will reduce the epilepsy attacks or the number of the seizures. The pharmacological action of a local anesthetic, therefore, on the CNS you can characterize as depression. Initially, although there is an excitation, as the dose progresses or as it increases, later on there is a complete effect is a depression. At higher doses, yes, there is a convulsive effect. Local anesthetics will produce tonic and clonic convulsions. Although there are certain exceptions like procaine, lidocaine, mepivacaine, which are generally used as anticonvulsant drugs, but this occurs only when their blood levels are maintained at a certain below threshold level. Otherwise, at a higher dose, you will find that same drugs will induce convulsions or they will cause seizures. So when you are giving a local anesthetic to a patient, and if you are expecting the chances of a seizure, as a pharmacologist, you should know that what are the different preconvulsive signs and the symptoms. There can be a numbness of a tongue, or a patient will complain about that, or anesthetic has been transported to this area by cardiovascular system rather than through the local delivery of anesthetic. Sometimes instead of excitation, sedation may take place in the first 5 to 10 minutes. Exception is lidocaine, but in case of a procaine or a mepivacaine, if instead of having an excitatory effect, you observe that there is a sedative effect in first 5 to 10 minutes after local anesthetic delivery, then that is a warning that there may be a convulsive activity might be seen in this patient. When a patient moves into a convulsive phase, you will find that there is why the patient moves into the convulsive phase, because there is an increased cerebral metabolism because of the rapid firing of the impulses. Metabolic activity of the brain is increased, and that leads to the generation of the acids, and that will lead to the acidosis, which acidic condition is favorable to prolong the seizure activity. So even if you reduce once the convulsion has begun, or when epileptic foci has been generated, and after that if you are stopping local anesthetic, still the effect will last because of the acidosis, which is going to favor seizure activity. Seizures gradually subside. Sometimes there may be a generalized CNS depression. It may be followed with a respiratory depression in higher doses. Because there is a respiratory depression, there may be a respiratory arrest, and that may sometimes prove to be fatal to the patient. That may lead to the death. So what care needs to be taken is that this convulsive phase, as far as possible, need to be avoided. Now how do seizures happen? Because the question arises is that local anesthetic have a depressant effect. Then how do these depressant actions are leading to the excitation of the membranes? The local anesthetics produce CNS excitation because of the severe or a selective blockade of the inhibitory pathways in the cerebral cortex. As there is an inhibition of inhibitory pathways in presynaptic event, which follows the local anesthetic blockade of impulses which are traveling along the inhibitory pathway, the local anesthetic depresses the action of inhibitory neurons, and hence the balance is disturbed and it becomes in favor of excessive release of excitatory neurotransmitter, leading to the increased excitatory input within the brain, and that ultimately leads to tremor, agitation, followed with seizures. If not controlled at right time, it may lead to respiratory arrest, and that ultimately leads to death. So these are some of the important toxic reactions. The next is, so this is a diagram which will tell you that this is our brain, right? And here there is a inhibitory impulse, you can see, and there is a facilitatory impulse also. Now this is usually there is a balance between the inhibitory impulses coming and the excitatory impulses which are coming in the cerebral cortex. You can see in the pre-convulsive stage of a local anesthetic, the inhibitory impulses become more profoundly depressed than that of the facilitatory impulses. And here you can see they are completely blocked in the convulsive phase, inhibitory impulses. So there are only facilitatory impulses. But as the concentration of local anesthetic further progresses, you can see there is a decrease in both inhibitory as well as facilitatory, and that ultimately leads to the CNS depression. So that's how the normal brain will progress after administration of local anesthetic from pre-convulsive to convulsive to CNS depression, and that needs to be controlled. There are certain other side effects of local anesthetic, and that is cardiovascular effects of local anesthetic. Local anesthetics have a direct action on the myocardium and peripheral vasculature. The CVS is more resistant to the effects of local anesthetic than the CNS. There is an increased local anesthetic blood levels which results in the decreased myocardial depolarization, whereas there is no change in the resting membrane potential, and at the same time there is no prolongation of various stages of repolarization. I hope you are understanding what I am speaking. See, what the local anesthetic do is that if there is an increased concentration of local anesthetic, there is going to be a decreased myocardial depolarization. And when there is a decreased myocardial depolarization, the contractility of the heart is going to get suppressed. However, the resting membrane potential will not be altered, and there won't be any prolongation of the stage of repolarization. See, local anesthetics are blocking sodium ion channels in an activated state, as a result of which the depolarization is getting affected. There won't be much effect on the resting membrane potential. At the same time, the phase 3 of cardiac contractility, which is opening of potassium channels, will not get affected with local anesthetic. There won't be prolongation of repolarization. There won't be change in the resting membrane potential. There will be only decrease in the myocardial depolarization. So please understand this. Local anesthetic will only decrease excitability of the myocardium. They will decrease the rate of conduction of the impulses, and they will decrease the force of contraction of the heart. As a result of which, the lidocaine, which is a drug of the emergency in case of cardiac arrhythmia, is used for treatment of preventricular contractions. Now, what is preventricular contraction? Supraventricular tachycardia, where epileptic foci is located within atrium, that leads to the firing of the impulses in a very rapid manner, which generates the epileptic foci within the ventricle, and ventricle leads to the ventricle starts beating at a very high rate, and that is termed as a ventricular tachycardia. But the reason for ventricular tachycardia is located somewhere before ventricle, and that is in the atria. For such type of the tachycardias, lignocaine or lidocaine is used therapeutically, especially in ICU units. Local anesthetics also have an ability to directly cause a dilation of the blood vessels. So they induce hypotension. They produce direct relaxation of the vascular smooth muscle, and hence they cause not only decrease in contractility of the heart, but they also reduce contractility of the blood vessel, and they cause fall in BP. So when we talk about various toxicities of local anesthetic, the first toxicity which is likely to occur is in the CNS, which usually creates a feeling of lightheadedness, dizziness. There may be auditory, visual disturbances. Sometimes patient may get mentally confused or disoriented. Patient may complain about shivering sensation, twitching of the involuntary twitching of the muscles, and at a very high doses there may be convulsions and respiratory arrest. This can be prevented by treating the patient with very important anticonvulsant drug, and that is diazepam. Another type of toxicity which can be seen with local anesthetic is cardiovascular toxicity, which can be associated with decreased heart rate and decreased heart contractility like bradycardia. Vasodilation will lead to hypertension, or sometimes there may be a vascular collapse or cardiac arrhythmias. On injection of a local anesthetic, at site of the injection, sometimes there may be a tissue toxicity. If there is an association of a wound, the healing of the wound will get delayed. If you are giving local anesthetic along with vasoconstrictor like adrenaline, there may be a local tissue damage. Vasoconstrictor therefore should not be used in those conditions where there is a ring block of hands, feet, finger, toes or any other regions. Bupivacaine among all local anesthetic is known to produce highest local toxicity or highest local tissue irritancy. The last but very important toxicity associated with local anesthetic is hypersensitivity reaction. Some of the patients may show hypersensitivity allergic reactions which are characterized by rashes or edema, dermatitis, contact sensitization, and in certain patients there may be asthmatic attacks or anaphylactic shocks. This is usually associated with those local anesthetic which have ester bond, whereas local anesthetic which have a amide bond rarely show such type of hypersensitivity reactions. Then there is another toxicity, and that is a lung toxicity. Lung toxicity is the one where local anesthetics have direct relaxant action on the bronchial smooth muscle. Generally, the respiratory function is unaffected by local anesthetic unless and until you give a very high dose, which I have already explained you, that there may be a respiratory arrest and that may lead to the death of the patient. Local tissue toxicity, where skeletal muscle, if occurs, it will take around 2 weeks after injection to get healed, but it will get healed. What you have to remember in case of a local tissue toxicity, the example is bupivacaine, which causes more damage to the skeletal muscle than the other agents. Yeah, there is another reaction which is usually observed with a local anesthetic is somebody has kept the video on. Malignant hypothermia, which is a pharmacogenic disorder. Due to the genetic variant, it alters the person's response to certain drugs, and that may be associated with malignant hypothermia. This is usually observed in case of the amide local anesthetic, that which is found to trigger this malignant hypothermia, but it is usually a genetic disorder. Now let us talk about another important part of the chapter, that how will you administer local anesthetic. There are various methods of the administration of local anesthetic. The first important one is surface anesthesia, where you are directly applying a local anesthetic to the surface of skin, or sometimes you may have to apply it across the wounds, although wounds delay the effect of local anesthetic. Another one is infiltration anesthesia. Infiltration anesthesia, where there may be injection of a local anesthetic in subcutaneous tissue in order to paralyze the nerve endings at a site of action. Some certain times there may be a nerve block where you have to administer local anesthetic in a vicinity or of the major nerve, such as when you are carrying out certain dental operation, you are applying the local anesthetic or injecting the local anesthetic near a major nerve rather than the nerve endings. Epidural anesthesia, where directly the local anesthetic is injected into our epidural space of spinal cord. Sympathetic is the one where we are injecting the local anesthetic across the sympathetic nerves, and spinal is the one where local anesthetic will be injected into a subarachnoid space, especially in the lumbar part of our spinal cord, in the lumbar region. Now let's talk about a surface or a topical anesthesia, where you have to apply a local anesthetic to a mucous membrane. So which are the different areas where local anesthetics are applied? Nose, mouth, esophagus, tracheobronchial tree, or genitourinary tract. And which is commonly used as a cocaine, around 4% to 10%. It is produced by topical application of surface anesthetics to the mucous membrane, or even it can be applied in certain situation to a abraded skin. It will only produce a superficial, only superficial layer, not deep anesthesia will occur, superficial anesthesia will occur. It depends what is the site of the application, that how quickly the anesthetic effect will be produced and how long it is going to last. Depends on both the site of application as well as the concentration. It has been found that a lidocaine, if you are spraying across the throat, it acts within 2 to 5 minutes and produces the anesthesia within 30 to 45 minutes. If you are adding adrenaline, it will not much affect the duration of a topical anesthesia. So adrenaline will affect majorly the systemic anesthesia. Absorption of a soluble local anesthetic from mucous membrane is always rapid, and therefore blood concentration of lidocaine and tetracaine, which are usually sprayed in the throat or tracheobronchial tree, can approach to those levels which can be achieved after intravenous injection. And therefore you have to be very careful, because the levels which are achieved may be equivalent to the IV injection, and there are chances of the toxicity. Except when you are using eutectic mixture of a lidocaine. What is eutectic mixture of lidocaine? It's a combination of lidocaine and prilocaine together, which is capable of anesthetizing even intact skin. The site and the purpose for which the surface anesthesia is used is given in this table. You can see here, if you are applying to the eye, usually tetracaine and benoxynate is used, and what is the purpose of it is in surgical purposes it can be used. For nose and ear, lidocaine and tetracaine, which is used for painful lesions to treat. Mouth and throat, usually the one which is used is a benzocaine in the form of lozenges, and that is used in case of soreness or inflammation to the mouth or to the other parts of GIT. Even you can apply to pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi. Usually lidocaine and tetracaine in the form of a spray are used in tonsillectomy operations and so on. You can also apply through the esophagus and stomach oxythazine in the form of suspension in gastritis or esophagitis. Across the abraded skin in the form of cream, ointments or dusting powder you can use, but commonly used are tetracaine, benzocaine. In intact skin, usually eutectic mixture is preferred, which I told you is a combination of lidocaine and prilocaine in the form of cream. Across the urethra, lidocaine is usually applied in the form of a jelly. Across anus and the rectum region, lidocaine and benzocaine are preferred in the form of ointment or the cream or suppository for fissures or painful piles or surgery when it is carried out. So this will give you an idea about how the surface anesthetics are used and what are their different purposes for which surface anesthetics can be used. Moving ahead, we are moving to the second method of application of local anesthetic, and that is local infiltration, where you are putting the local anesthetic into extravascular compartment in the region which you are desiring to anesthetize, and very commonly used is a lidocaine, where dilute solution of a local anesthetic is infiltrated under the skin where you want to carry out the operation, and that will block the sensory nerves in that region. It will block sensory nerve endings, not the roots. The onset of the action in this case is almost immediate because you are blocking the nerve endings. Obviously, the duration will be shorter than what you get duration after blocking the nerve root. The lidocaine usually produces the effect 30 to 60 minutes. Bupivacaine has a longer 120 to 180 minutes. Infiltration is used when you want to carry out surgical operations of short duration, minor operations, like minor some incisions or has to be required to be given. When the area is to be anesthetized is small, and you have to remember this thing very well, that when the area is small, the concentration of a local anesthetic required is much more in infiltration. Is required is comparatively larger as compared to the area which you want to anesthetize. But motor functions are not getting affected, only sensory functions are getting affected, as there will be effect on the sensory nerve endings. Another method of administration is conduction block. The conduction block is a method where local anesthetic is injected around the nerve trunk, so that the areas which come distal to the injection all get anesthetized or partially paralyzed. The choice of a local anesthetic and what concentration you are going to use depends how long you want anesthesia, the duration of the action. Again, a very preferred anesthetic agent for this is lidocaine 1 to 2% because it has a intermediate duration of action, but you still want a longer duration of action, you can go for bupivacaine. It is usually achieved by injecting local anesthetic in subcutaneous tissue, where in a manner that all nerves coming to a particular field get blocked. They are usually used in hernia operation, appendicitis operation, in carrying out dental, or when the scalp stitching, hair replantation is carried out, or operations of the forearms or legs, the field block type of the method is used, because this allows a larger area to get anesthetized and comparatively lesser drug is required as compared to the infiltration anesthesia. Another block is the which we are seeing, where the local anesthetic is injected into the tissues around individual nerve, or especially it is injected into the plexus of the nerve. Now, since this is not across the nerve root, it is in the plexus, it will be termed as a peripheral nerve block, and there the drug which is used is a bupivacaine. The area which gets anesthetized is comparatively larger than what amount of the drug you are using. The muscles which are supplied by those nerves plexus get paralyzed. After injection, after how much period the anesthesia will be produced depends that what is the area where you have injected, and therefore how much will be the rate of diffusion of the drug in that area. For example, a lidocaine anesthetic, if there are intercostal nerves, then within 3 minutes. If you are using bronchial plexus, then it will take 15 minutes. So it totally depends upon the area where you are injecting. Now in nerve block, there is a technique called as a flooding technique which is used. And when you are doing a flooding technique, you need a larger volumes, because nerve block lasts for a longer period than that of a field block or infiltration anesthesia. This is nerve blocks are frequently performed when you are going to target lingual, intercostal, ulnar, sciatic, femoral, bronchial plexus, or trigeminal nerve, or facial or the phrenic nerves. They are even used for tooth extraction or operations which are required to be ophthalmic operations, or operations to be carried out on limbs or abdominal wall, or when you have to carry out fracture settings, or if there is any trauma to ribs, or neuralgia needs to be produced, or there are persistent hiccups, then the nerve block can be used. Another is the spinal anesthesia, where anesthesia following the local anesthetic injection into a lumbar subarachnoid space. Primary site is always preganglionic fibers leading to the spinal cord in anterior rami, and secondary is a superficial spinal cord layers. This is the site of administration of a spinal anesthesia. You can see it in the diagram. The local anesthetic is getting injected into a subarachnoid space between second and the third, or third and the fourth lumbar vertebrae, below the lower end of a spinal cord. The primary site of action is always a nerve root in cauda equina rather than a spinal cord, and therefore lower abdominal region, hind limbs usually get anesthetized or paralyzed, usually used in obstetrical operations during deliveries. The level of the anesthesia will depend upon the volume and at what speed the injection is given, the specific gravity of a drug solution, and which posture the patient has been kept. The drug solution could be hyperbaric, that is 10% glucose solution, or it sometimes kept isobaric with our cerebrospinal fluid, because you have seen the site of the site of administration of the drug. Obviously, the nerve roots rapidly take up the anesthesia, they retain the local anesthesia, and therefore its concentration in the CSF quickly falls after the injection because it is getting retained across the nerve root. The level of the anesthesia generally does not change with the change in the posture after 10 minutes. Also, the higher segments gets exposed progressively, and a lower concentration of local anesthesia is required as compared to the other routes. There will be the preganglionic fibers of autonomic nervous system which also get affected along with the somatic fiber, but the degree of response of the autonomic nerves is comparatively greater than that of somatic fibers. And the level of the sympathetic block may take place is about much higher as compared to the motor paralysis. Instead, motor paralysis is about 2 segments lower than the level of the cutaneous analgesia, whereas the sympathetic blockade is 2 segments higher than that of a cutaneous analgesia. The duration of a spinal anesthesia will again depend upon what concentration and which type of a drug you are using. If you add adrenaline to local anesthetic, it will further help you to prolong spinal anesthesia. And adrenaline may enhance the spinal anesthesia by reducing the spinal cord blood flow or by its own analgesic effect exerted through the alpha-2 receptor. So sometimes you can even give intrathecal injection of a clonidine, which is alpha-2 agonist, and can produce spinal analgesia by itself. So along with your local anesthetic, you can combine either administration of clonidine or the adrenaline. As I already told you that this is usually used in a late pregnancy, which requires less drug for spinal anesthesia, because the inferior vena cava compression leads to the engorgement of the vertebral system and decrease in the capacity of subarachnoid space. Spinal anesthesia, it is usually given in the late phase of a pregnancy. Spinal anesthesia is used for even apart from the delivery. It can be used for lower operations of a lower limb or a pelvic region, or prostatectomy, fractures, obstetric procedures, and so on. What is the advantages of spinal anesthesia? Is it is safer. It produces good analgesic effect along with muscle relaxation. The consciousness of the patient is intact. Yes, and comparatively there will be less cardiac, pulmonary, and renal problems, and there is a less risk to the diabetic patient. But there are certain complications which may be sometimes rare also. Rare ones are respiratory paralysis. There may be a paralysis of an intercostal muscle, but the respiration will continue to be maintained by diaphragm, so which is usually supplied by the phrenic nerves. There may be a blockade of a sympathetic, which I already discussed with you, and there will be a hypotension. Venous pulling may take place. As there is a venous pulling, there will be decreased venous return, and that will lead to the decreased cardiac output. That will lead to fall in BP. Along with that, there may be arterial vasodilation, which will further add to this effect. If there is a seepage of a cerebrospinal fluid at a site of injection, there may be a headache which can be minimized by using comparatively a needle of a small bore size. There is another syndrome called as cauda equina syndrome, which is very rare, but it may occur, so you should know. There is a rare neurological complication which results due to prolonged loss of control over bladder and sphincters of the bowel. Sometimes there may be septic meningitis because of the infection during the lumbar puncture. And there are minor effects like nausea, vomiting, especially after performing abdominal operations, because there may be initiation of the reflexes by traction of the abdominal viscera, and that can be avoided by giving certain pre-medications like opioidal analgesics. Next anesthesia is epidural anesthesia, where anesthesia is caused by local anesthetic solutions which are injected into epidural space. They have a direct action on the nerve root and then on the spinal cord, following the diffusion of the anesthetic across dura mater. So this is a site where the epidural anesthesia is given. You can compare it with the spinal anesthesia and epidural anesthesia. So here today we finish with our chapter of local anesthetics.